Hello guys, I hope you're doing all right. And here we are in a new video about roots, okay? So on last classes, we were talking about the square root, okay? How to find the square root of a number or a variable. So now we will talk about different roots. For example, how can we find cube, fourth, and other roots, okay? So first of all, we're going to state a very basic definition of what a different root is. Okay, so we can call the nth root, so that can be any number. The nth root of a, written as the nth root of a, is a number whose nth power equals a. So for example, we can have here the nth root of a will be b. So we are going to find the nth root of a, which will be a number b. Okay, so that means that if we take b to the power of n, that will be equals to a. Okay, so we will see that much better in some examples. All right, so we can call the parts of the root like this. Okay, so in the nth root of a, the number n is the index. Okay, the little number that we can see here in the root is called the index. All right, this is called the index. And then we have the order, or it can also be called order of the radical. Okay, so if we have the nth root of a, we can have the radical symbol, which is the blue symbol that we can see here. We can have the index, which is the little number here, and the radicand, which is the number inside the radical symbol. Okay, all right, guys. So let's see some basic examples. Something like, for example, if you have the the cubic root, for example, if we have the cubic root of 8, so what does it mean? That we need to find a number that multiplied by itself 3 times and we get 8. Okay, so what will be that number? For example, you can start trying 1 times 1 times 1, that will be 1, so it's not possible. For example, 2 times 2 times 2, that will be 8. So if you multiply 2 times 2, that will be 2 times 2, 4, and 4 times 2 will be 8. So the cubic root will be 2, because if you multiply 2 3 times by the same number, that will be 8. Okay, so that will be the cubic root. If we have in the index a number like 4, that will be the fourth root. All right, that will be the fourth root. So in this case, we have that will be 2. All right, so then we will see more examples of that. So let's continue here with some basic examples. How can we find with these numbers? We have the cubic root of 64. So how can we find it? Okay, guys. So first of all, what we can do, so we don't have to use calculator, we are going to do the prime factorization of 64. All right. So let's start with 64 here. We're going to do prime factorization. So we're going to get all the factors of 64. So we start dividing by the lowest number, which will be 2. Okay, so we can start dividing 64 divided by 2, and that will be 32. So we can continue dividing by 2. So 32 divided by 2, which is 16. All right. Once again, we can divide by 2. So that will be 4. So that will be 8, sorry. And if we divide 8 divided by 2, which is 4, and once again, if we divide 4 by 2, that will be 2. Okay, so finally, 2 divided by 2 will be 1. Okay, so here we are. Here we have all the factors of 64. And since this is an even number, we have all of these factors, and this is especially with 2. So guys, we have to do groups, okay? We need to find the cubic root. So we need to multiply the same number 3 times to get 64. And how can we get that? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. So we can make groups of 2 numbers. So that will be this 1, 2, and 3. So we have 3 different groups with the same number. So if you multiply 2 times 2, that will be 4. If you multiply the same here, that will be 4. So we have the same number. 2 times 2 will be 4. So what does it mean? That we have 4 multiplied 3 times, and we can get 64. So if you multiply 4 times 4 times 4, that will be 64. So what is the cubic root of 64? That will be 4. Because if you multiply 4 times 4 times 4, that will be the same as 64 by taking these factors. So the result here will be 4. All right? So guys, what happens with the negative numbers? So actually we can have a, do you remember that when we find the square root, it's not possible to find the square root of a negative number because it's not possible to multiply two negative numbers and you get a negative number as a result. But when we have an odd number like this, okay, like 3, we can actually have the result will be negative. Okay, it's possible to find a result that can be negative. All right, so let's find it here. So we are going to do the prime factorization for to find the cubic root of minus 27. Okay, so the same guys. We're going to do the prime factorization here. So let's take the 27 here. So at the end, you know that the result will be negative. Okay, so we're going to get the factors for 27. All right, so 27 can be divided, cannot be divided by 2, but it can be divided by 3. Okay, so 27 divided by 3, that will be 9. 9 divided by 3, which will be 3. And 3 divided by 3, which is 1. Okay, look, in the last example, we have a lot of factors, a lot of 2's here, and we had to create the groups of 4. Okay, so this group of two numbers, the second group, and the third group. But here we only have 3 terms. We have 3, 3, and 3. So we can find immediately the cubic root for 27 because that will be 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, so if you multiply 3 times 3 times 3, that will be 27. So the cubic root of minus 27 with the negative sign, that will be minus 3. Okay, because the same number multiplied 3 times, that will be 27. All right. Okay, guys. So we already have the example B. Let's continue with example C. All right. Let's see what happens in example C. All right. So let's see. Here we are going to find the cubic root for 512. Okay. Okay, guys. So the same. We are going to do the prime factorization for 512. And how can we do it? So we start dividing by the lowest number for 512, which is divided by 2, because here we have an even number. So that will be 512 divided by 2, that will be 256. 256 divided by 2, that will be 128. 128 divided by 2, that will be 64. 64 divided by 2, which is 32. Okay, 32 divided by 2, which is 16. 16 divided by 2 will be 8. 8 divided by 2, which is 4. And 4 divided by 2 will be 2. And 2 divided by 2, which is 1. Okay, so look at all these factors that we have. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 factors. 9 factors, but we need to make groups of 3, all right, to get the cubic root. So we're going to start creating the groups. So we'll be 1, 2, and 3 groups, okay? So that will be 2 times 2 times 2, that will be 8, okay? The first group is 8. 2 times 2 times 2, the same, 8, and the same here. So guys, if you multiply 8 times 8 times 8, that will be 512. So finally, the cubic root for 512, that will be 8. Okay, you can check that also in the calculator. If you multiply 8 3 times by itself, that will be 512. So the cubic root for 512 is 8. All right. So what happens if we have here a negative number? So that will be, the result will be negative. Remember that it's not possible to have the negative result in that square root, okay? That's not possible there. Okay, guys, so let's check the last example, and here we have a fraction. So the cubic root of 125 divided by 216. Okay, so let's take a look at this fraction. 525 divided by 216, the cubic root. Okay, guys, so remember when we have the root of a fraction, we will have to take the cubic root for the numerator. Okay, that's the same as the cubic root of 125 over the cubic root of 216. We're going to take the roots of all the numerators and also for the denominator. All right. So guys, let's see. So the cubic root of 125. So that we will find out first this cubic root, and we are going to do prime factorization. So 125. So we can divide this number. We can start dividing by 5. So if we divide 125 by 5, that will be 25. If you divide again by 5, that will be 5. And 5 divided by 5, which is 1. Okay? So we don't have to make the groups here because we already have the result. 5 times 5 times 5 will be 125. So the result for the first one will be 5. We already have the numerator. So let's take a look now at the denominator. Okay, so let's do this. The cubic root of 216. All right. So 216, the same, we do prime factorization. So we are going to start dividing 216. We can start dividing by 2, which is 108. Divide by 2 again, which is 54. If you divide again 54 by 2, that will be 27. But look, 27 cannot be divided by 2, but it can be by 3. So 27 by 3 will be 9. 9 divided by 3, which is 3. And 3 divided by 3, which is 1. Okay, so guys, here we have a special case because we have different numbers here. We have 2 and we have 3. And we have to create groups of 3 numbers which are the same to get, once you multiply, you get 216. So if you try combinations here, that can be, for example, if you multiply 2 times 3, that will be 6, okay? So that will be 6. If you multiply again 2 times 3, that will be 6. And if we multiply again 2 times 3, that will be 6. So we have 6 here, 6, and 6. So the result, the product of these for 216, that will be 6 times 6 times 6, all right? That will be 216, all right? So what is the cubic root for 216? That will be 6, all right? This is the denominator for this case. So finally, guys, we analyze if it's possible to simplify this fraction, but 5 over 6 cannot be simplified, all right? So that will be the final answer, all right, guys? So remember, guys, when you're going to find the cubic roots, we are going to get the groups of three numbers which are the same, and you after you multiply these numbers, you get the result inside the root. What if you had, for example, the fourth root? So that will be the same, but the number should be multiplied 4 times, okay? But in these cases of cubic root, that will be multiplied 3 times by the same number to get the result inside the radical symbol, all right? So that's all. That's it for today, guys. In the next video, we will see the fourth roots or fifth roots. That will be the same process, but with more terms that are multiplying. Okay, guys. So have a great day. See you in the next video. Bye bye.